A weekend edition of NBL Now, a Boomers game in the books last night. We're continuing with our mid-season review here on NBL Now as well. It's all thanks to Code Sports, your number one source for everything basketball this NBL season. Joel Peterson with you this morning, and we've wheeled out the big guns for our Boomers review. Olympian, NBA champion, former Brisbane Bullet, Aron Baynes is with us. Baynesy, good to see you, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, it was a fun one to watch. Always good competition between Australia and New Zealand. So, yeah, bit fiery at points as well. Like to see that.
That's what we like. That's what we like. So the Boomers get it done 84-79. They were challenged it a number of times in this game, and even on the surface going in, it looked like those New Zealand big men would really present a challenge to this Australian team, which they did. Dave O'Hickey comes up with a big play late, so too Jack White on the defensive end. Before we get into the specifics of it, overall, from a high-level perspective, what were your thoughts on the way the Boomers and the Tall Blacks went into battle last night?
Yeah, I guess bit of a feel out for both teams, right? So, few different lineups, especially getting players through early on, but yeah, just trying to see which guys work as a unit well. So, going to see a lot of changes for the second one, I think. Not as many rotations either, but yeah, a game of runs and a game of calls and no calls. That's what it came down to in the end. So, yeah, it was a bit of a challenge, ebbs and flows, but like you said, the bigs for New Zealand really made it tough in the paint for the Aussies. I think they won the rebound pretty handedly, but the Aussies, I was happy to see at the end of the game, they all boxed out and the ball actually hit the floor a couple of times. That's kind of a big area of emphasis that they need to lock in on. The next one is limit those extra possessions for New Zealand. I think they had 18 offensive rebounds. So, when they're getting that many extra possession, it makes it really tough.
Yeah, plus 10 in that category, plus 13 in the rebounding battle overall last night, the Kiwis. They didn't shoot the three ball particularly well, just 24%. Australia shooting 64% on twos and 31% from behind the arc. Angus Glover hit 4 threes. Jaylin Galloway continued his really good form in the green and gold, continuing off his Asia Cup MVP campaign. From an Australian perspective, what did you like out of what you saw from them last night?
Yeah, just seeing what Jaylin was able to do. He hasn't been that player for Sydney this year, so it's great to see him be able to come out and get back to that. I think he's got to find that same confidence when he puts on the Kings uniform, though. Not sure what's going on there, but we needed it last night. Glover as well, he started off a bit slow, but he got a couple runs going, and I don't know what it was, but just the Kiwis were able to stem it every single time. As soon as it started looking dangerous and Australia got out to a bit of a lead, they were able to come and usually get it into a swing the other way. So, yeah, it's an emphasis on Australia need to be that defensive mindset. I was a bit surprised, with the high score it was in the first half, knowing the coach Dino is and the type of defense he likes. But yeah, the Aussies kind of got back to their defensive tendencies more so in the second half, which is what Australian basketball, that's the only way we've ever been successful, is when we lock in on the defensive end. The offense is going to come with that, but yeah, first and foremost, we need to get our defense all working in unison.
What do you make of the Jaylin Galloway performance? And you mentioned the fact that he hasn't looked like that player in the Sydney Kings purple so far this year. No Xavier Cooks in this team, of course. There is no Kendrick Davis in this team. There is no Matthew Dellavedova in this Boomers team. So all of a sudden, he gets vaulted up the pecking order based off the Asia Cup MVP performance. This would clearly give him a lot of confidence. How does he harness that into what he's doing at the NBL level?
Yeah, it's one of those things, confidence goes a long way, and just having the vocal support of your coach and telling, I'm sure Dino was in his ear saying, hey, we need you to be the player you were over the break and get back to that. And yeah, he had the confidence of his teammates. He had the confidence of his coach. It goes a long way. And yeah, I don't know if I don't think he doesn't have the confidence of them, but Sydney have been, up and down a number of times this year, and Zave has really been what they've been trying to focus on, getting him back to playing the way he needs to for them to go on a long run. And, they've been able to do that more so over last few games and they were at the start of the season. So I think that's kind of once Zay's into his rhythm and going consistently, then, start giving a bit more confidence to Jaylin, hopefully.
And from a New Zealand perspective, obviously the bigs were great. Sam Menenga continuing on his really strong performance this season. Flynn Cameron with 15 points. Taylor Britt running the point for stretches in this game. Isaiah Liafa still struggling to shoot the ball, but 28 important minutes for Judd Flavel's team. What did you take away from a positive perspective for the Kiwis?
Yeah, Liafa didn't play the way Liafa can, so that he's going to be a dangerous one when they get down to Wellington. He's going to look to go out there and hold himself to a higher standard, especially shooting the ball. He can do it. There's no better time to do it than when you got your country on your chest, right? So he's going to be a tough one for the Aussies, I think, coming up in New Zealand. And as far as the bigs, yeah, when they started getting more aggressive, they've got so many bigs that they can just run through and keep them fresh and off the bench. And I think when they started playing a bit more aggressive defense, it just changed their tune as well. So, when they didn't do it until they got down though. So it's one of those things that they need to be able to control that and do it from the get-go. I think as well, when they get the ball inside, they've got to really punish Australia and, use their back to the basket game. They didn't really look to do it as much as I thought they would. Tyrell and Yanni, they're both great scorers down there on the post, and they were looking to facilitate more than they were looking to try and get in the paint, I think.
It's we talk about it a lot when we watch NBL basketball. Tyrell Harrison, 17 minutes, 8 points, 1 shot last night. He had 1 field goal attempt. That doesn't feel like enough.
No, it was off an offensive rebound too, right? So it's one of those things that, yeah, I know he's trying to make the right play, but sometimes the right play is punishing the team and making them have to double and triple team you when you get deep. And then still he's got enough size and ability to go around and through and over the double teams when they do come to him once he's got 2 feet in the paint. So I'd like to see a bit more aggressiveness from him. And, being up here in Brisbane, it would be a good thing for the next run on as well to see him really take another step.
Absolutely. So Monday in Wellington is when these two sides will reunite, and that's going to be a fascinating challenge. Do you have a tip? We're a couple of days out, of course. Bainesy, do you think the Aussies go back-to-back, or are New Zealand a little bit of a different prospect on their home floor?
Yeah, every team, every country, when they're playing in their home, you saw it in the Olympics with France. There's nothing like playing on your home court and having that hometown support. So it's going to be a tough one for Australia. But if they can play the style of defense that Dino wants them to from the first quarter and not give up 48 points in a half, then Australia's going to be playing their style of game. If it becomes, a bit of a slugfest, then it's more going on rhythm, then I think New Zealand's going to be really dangerous in that. They're going to get hot. They didn't shoot well last game. They've got a bunch of guys that can knock down shots and then obviously get on the offensive boards when those shots don't go in. So, yeah, Australia will need to focus on their defense and rebounding, and yeah, it gives themselves that opportunity to limit New Zealand's possessions.
And before we move on, just spare a thought for young Jackson Ball, who's playing with the Illawarra Hawks this season. He's such a talented Kiwi. He hits the court last night for all of 1 second. I don't know whether I'd rather not even step out there than step out there for just 1 second. So hopefully we see him get a little bit more court time in Wellington as well, Bainesy.
Mate, I think he's just got to look at Joey and, see, you might not even hit the court sometimes. I don't know if they even put Joe Ingles on as hitting the court a couple of times, but he's made a few really important inbound passes and things like that. It doesn't matter how long or you're on the court or what impact. It's about the situation. And so as much as we'd love to see the young guys being able to get out there and put in some big minutes, even the older guys sometimes are restricted, but they'll find a way to impact the team. And yeah, the same thing for Ball. Just look at what guys are able to do in limited minutes and even the support there for the team. So it's great that he's got his number called up anyway. And yeah, hopefully he does get some more time. It does suck having 1 second, but at the same time, it's 1 second more than he could have had.
Yeah, very true. Very true. He's going to be a big part of New Zealand basketball's future as well. So all the time he
Yeah.
spends around that national team program is very, very important. We're about to move on to the Brisbane Bullets and their mid-season report card. Just remember the top 15. So Derek Rucker's top 15, 5-1 dropping this weekend. So that's going to be much talked about. We'll have shows coming to review all of that over the next little while as well. So more on that coming in the next couple of days. Our focus today, though, is the Brisbane Bullets as part of our mid-season reviews, and it's been a torturous season for the Bullets as far as injuries are concerned. There's reinforcements on the way, though, which is great to see. We've started these in all the same way so far. Bainesy, what do you like about what Brisbane have put together so far this season?
Yeah, well, some continuity will be good, with JFL back, hopefully healthy and mentally ready to contribute again. He can get back to what he was in the preseason and early on for them. It'll be a big lift for them, as well as Terry Taylor. He's a bit of an unknown for Australian basketball in general, but, he's been able to have an impact at points over there in the States. And, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how quickly they can mold him into the role that they want him to fulfill there. It's some big shoes he's coming in to try and replace what Casey's been able to do for them for the season. And I think early on it's Tyrell's team. So, Tyrell's got to go out there and take that next step again and really be a dominant force. He's one of the best bigs in the league. I'd love to see him be the best big over the end of the season.
Before we move on to what needs to change, the youngsters that Brisbane have got. So there's been times where they've been really short-handed and Tristan Devers would need to step up and play some big minutes. They've thrown Alex Dukas, obviously, with a really solid opportunity. Tane Murray spent a lot of time in the starting lineup and has played some big games. We've seen Jacob Holt really come on in recent times as well, and that's really just scratching the surface of the youngsters they've got up there in Brisbane. So the development and the opportunity for these young guys out of injuries, that can be sort of a bit of a silver lining of what's been a dark cloud over their season.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those things that as a team, you want to have a strong bench, but you don't want to have to use them necessarily. But that's also where you can find, some diamonds out there as well. It's the number of guys that have made a career from just having that opportunity one time or, one season where they've been on a team with some injuries and they've been able to step into a bigger role and they've never looked back. You look at development players, and one of those guys that comes to mind being in Brisbane and playing with them, is Nathan Sobey and what he was able to do over his career trajectory, and from being that development player up in Cairns to, he's now in talks of one of the guys that is in the hunt for the MVP with the way Southeast Melbourne are playing. And so it's great to see that. But yeah, it's one of those things that comes from opportunity. And so, yeah, Brisbane have had a lot of opportunities for these young guys. And we saw them all being able to contribute last night as well, which is fun as well. Seeing what they can do, representing their country, and that little bit of confidence, like I talked on before, of, hey, you've had your number called up. You're under scrutiny, but at the same time, people know what you could be capable of. Step up and show us what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So 5 and 10 as the Bullets go to the break. They're in 8th spot. What needs to change for them, do you think?
They need to replace some scoring there with Casey. And like I said, Tyrell, I really hope to see him take that next step in terms of just being dominant each time he steps out there on the floor. He has the ability, has the skill. Does he want to do it? I think so. He's just a little bit too unselfish at times, which we saw last night as well. So, that to me is the biggest key. But then, I guess last night as well, Duke has missed some open shots. You really want to see those guys be able to be more consistent, and especially in those good play movements where the ball's swinging and you want to see those shots get knocked down and build the confidence. If they have that from 2 or 3 guys deep on the bench that can come in and knock down shots and add consistent scoring, I think that's what Brisbane needs. The defense is it's a bit hit and miss with Tyrell trying to extend his minutes, and when he's more aggressive though, he looks better. They all look better as a team. So yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm asking a lot of Tyrell, but that's what you want. That's what you want your best players to go out there and be the ones that get the team the wins.
Yeah, and you can ask it because we know that he's capable of doing some pretty special things as well when he's in form. Their most improved player this season, who springs to mind for you there?
Most improved. Yeah, I think you said it in terms of what Divas has been able to do. He came from, he's that development player, and they're trying to build him. But when Mitch went down and then Jaylin went to the bench, I saw some really good things from Tristan in those moments. He controlled the team and pushed and got them playing the defense that, it's the head of the snake. He's up there interfering with guys and getting them going. So I like to see that. If Casey was still healthy, it's crazy to say, but he would have been the most improved for me, what he was able to do consistently. So it sucks that they've lost what he's been able to do. But yeah, it's now on those next guys and see what Terry brings to the table as well. And maybe JFL steps back into, that early preseason form. And if he does that, then Brisbane's going to be dangerous too.
Yeah, let's hope so. Team MVP to this point of the season for the Bullets?
Again, Casey has to be the guy. Unfortunately, yeah, it's his season's done now, but Tyrell wasn't far off what he was contributing anyway. So it was between those two for me. And so, yeah, it's going to be Tyrell, I think, come the end of the season. And like I've talked about him a fair bit this time, but I want to see him take that next step to the NBA as well. I think he's one of the top 3 guys in the NBL now that should be in the NBA. So I want him to go and prove it to everyone.
And hopefully with Mitch Norton back for the remainder of the season, they get a decent run of injury. He can sort of see the ball in the same way a little bit more often and find a little bit of continuity at that offensive end. Who needs to step up? This is for Step One, the official underwear partner of the NBL. Who do you think needs to step up for Brisbane in the back end of the season?
Yeah, I've talked about him a lot, but you talked about Mitch, and Mitch sat out more games than he ever wants to sit out in the season. So he's going to be that guy that comes in and you see what he brings to the team when he puts his body on the line. He's never going to be in the wrong position, and I think he's the heart and soul of the team in terms of making sure everyone's playing the right way they want to play. So I don't know if it's step up, but just stay healthy. So looking forward to seeing Mitch do his thing.
Yep, I think that goes for all of the Bullets. Is just stay healthy. So yeah, 5 and 10 as we said. Tassie are in 6th spot at the moment, 6 and 9. They are not too far out of the conversation here, Brisbane, if they're able to get rolling. Your finishing prediction? Do you see a world where they can still make that play-in spot?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, the bottom half, it's all so tight, right? I mean, it's not that far from the top half down to the bottom half either. It's a short season, but it's the blessing is there's more games this year as well. So yeah, if they can flip their record from what it is in the second half, they'll be right there in the hunt. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one because they didn't lose. There was a few games that I thought they could have won pretty easily, but they just let them slip. So if they can even change 3 or 4 of those into wins, they're going to be there.
Particularly at home too. They're 4 and 4 on the road, 1 and 6 at home. Now that's a bit of a trend among a couple of teams this season, but if they can start jagging a few more of those wins in front of their home fans, then all of a sudden things could really start to open up for them.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be good to see the entertainment centre get loud again. It's kind of quieting down a little bit as of late, which to be expected when the team's record is what it is. Then to be expected, the record is what it is when you had that number of injuries. But it's always fun to see the place get loud and get it going. So yeah, hopefully a couple of wins at home and yeah, kick them off into a good run.
All right, Mr. Baynes, we're about to end the class for the day and you're about to dismiss us from your school of post moves and big man play, but I want to get your report card score before we leave for the Brisbane Bullets. Where have you got them? What grade are you giving them to this point in the season?
Look, on the fence sitter right now. It's a C right now, just based on injuries. Yeah, there's moments where they've looked really good. There's moments where they've kind of look defeated from those injuries as well. So, yeah, it's average right now, but I don't think there's some external factors, there's some internal factors, and hopefully Mitch being there will really change that internal belief and confidence in those guys. And yeah, Tyrell guy out there and being who he has to be, I think they could definitely get it to a B+ by the end of the season, though.
Yep. I just if this was a school, they need to be present in class a little bit more often. And hopefully they can pick those grades up toward the end of the season. Baynesy, great chatting hoops with you, of course. Boomers back in action on Monday. We've got top 15 at 1 to 5 coming today, so that's going to be all types of fun. Thanks for your company. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Cheers, mate. You have a good one. Looking forward to Monday as well.
Yeah, it's going to be very good in Wellington, that is for sure. Aron Baynes with us on NBL Now, of course, thanks to Code Sports, your number one source for everything NBL in this season. We've got plenty more NBL Now coming across the course of the weekend as we build up to more Boomers action on Monday.